First off, Coach, give me the scouting report going back to the day of Tim Beck, quarterback, Central Florida.
You know, it was interesting. I played quarterback in high school, went to Central Florida. I was a runner, a physical guy, not real fast, tough dude. Didn't have a real good arm, I got to be honest. Had some shoulder injuries.
So once that was done, why coaching?
You know, I love the game. You know, I grew up around it. My high school coach had a huge influence in me, and the area and where I grew up and the people I was around. It was who I was, and I wanted to continue to be a part, but also to give back because the influences that were.
Describe your experiences at Cardinal Mooney and that is between yourself, the Polinis, the Stoops Brothers. How does that happen?
I don't know. I tell you, it's a great town. I'm very proud to be from there. Working steel mill town back in the day when I was growing up, and you just brought your lunch pail and you went to work. And to play at the place that I played with the people that I played with, you would have never thought that all these great coaches would come, from that area. But it also showed the influence that our coach had, Coach Butchie, our head coach, and what he did and why it was so important. It affected a lot of guys, and a lot of guys were coaches off in that time frame. We were all there.
Well, you mentioned guys that grind and that put in the work. Brings us to Bill Snyder. What was that initial reaction like with Coach Snyder upon taking that job as a GA back in '91?
Well, I was real excited. I got to work with Bobby Stoops as his GA on defense. I learned a lot. Coach was very meticulous, detail-driven player program. It was interesting how he put a lot of responsibility and accountability on players and how he truly changed the program. And it helped me in my endeavors down the road. What I learned from him was you don't just change the nameplate on the door. That's not a coaching change. You change culture, you change vision. It has to be seen, touched, smelt, and felt. That was one of the things I noticed that Coach did in his way, and I took that with me through all my times as a coach.
And speaking of that change, you go to also being under that Bill Snyder umbrella with Mark Mangino at Kansas. And together, you guys took the Kansas Jayhawks to the Orange Bowl.
Yeah.
The Kansas Jayhawks to the Orange Bowl.
What a season for Kansas. Congratulations, FedEx Orange Bowl champions are from Lawrence, Kansas. 12-1 right now on a sensational season.
It was a magical year. I actually recruited Todd Reesing right out here out of Lake Travis. He became our quarterback that year as a true sophomore. He was just a winner. Gunslinging winner. And he didn't win very many races in the 40. He couldn't bench press. I don't know if he could out bench press the coaching staff. But boy, you put a ball in his hand and you put him between the lines, you had to kill him to beat him. He was a smart guy, and we surrounded him with just the right kinds of people and talent, and the culture was that way. It was a tough, physical group, never gave up, and played really hard, and it equated to a lot of victories.
To what extent do you think you've come to grasp or understand what you've gotten yourself into at the University of Texas as the offensive coordinator and everything that comes along with that position from fans and expectations?
I mean, I don't know that it's much different than it was at Nebraska or Ohio State. I think their expectations, I don't want to say get used to it. I'm a competitive guy, I'm very driven. If we don't play well, I'm going to be mad and upset at myself for allowing our guys to not be at their best, regardless of the score of the game and how we play. And that's a little bit sometimes what gets lost. I've got accustomed to understand and realize my players come first. I give them everything I can all the time. I leave no stone unturned and work as long as I have to work to make sure that they're prepared to go out there. And as long as I can look myself in the mirror and know I'm doing that, I'm doing a good job.
The answer to the question everybody wanted to know, it will be Shane Buechele who will open at quarterback for the Longhorns.
Now with the guys you're coaching here, quarterback at the University of Texas, what is the absolute must that they have to possess?
They got to have toughness. I mean, that's the number one thing in my opinion. They got to be the toughest guy in the room, mentally and physically. Mentally because, I mean, the game's changed a lot since 10 years, 5 years ago. Coverages, the skill level of the players, just things that are happening. Also, media. I always tell our guys, it's a great quote from Bobby Bowden. It's 6 inches from a halo to a noose. So one minute you're an angel and everybody loves you, and the next minute they want to kill you. So they have to be tough that way. And then obviously physically, I mean, they got to be able to withstand. Everybody's trying to get them, right? The first thing the ball snap, get them. Your fans yell, get them. And so they're yelling and they get the quarterback and try to hit them or put them out of the game or rattle them or throw them off timing. I mean, you always hear that when they say, how do you try to stop the passing game? There's a variety of ways of doing it. So, and a lot of it has to do hit the quarterback.
Finally, what is the most important thing that has to develop over spring practice with your offense in general?
The first thing I'm noticing a little bit is just knowledge of general football to some degree. It's not just the outcome. There's a process that takes place. And if you're consistent in that process and you execute that process at a high level, your chances of success are greater. If you just worry about the outcome and occasionally have success, you forget why and how you did what you did. You just say, well, coach, it was complete. Well, I know your footwork was bad, and it's going to get you later on if you don't do the right footwork. It makes sense. So we're trying to teach just a little bit more general football knowledge, technique knowledge, some things like that. And I think that's first. I think second, we got to get tough. We got to be to be able to impose our will on opponents is ideally what we want to try to be offensively. So we got a ways to go, still working in that, but I do see progress there.